Hello, I'm Mike, aka Long Box Diver. Welcome to my channel. Today's video I'm going to do on American Flagg, Howard Chaykin's great comic book from the early to mid 80s, put out by First Comics. First came out in 1983, and First Comics is actually a comic publisher that I've become very curious about. Over the last few years, I've come across different books that have been put out by First, and the stuff that I've read and looked through has been all very good. So I'm kind of digging more into First, and the titles and the creators that they worked with. Like I said, the First started in 1983, and they were putting out comics that were more adult, like American Flagg here. Kind of before the great year of 1986, where the comic book industry had a lot of great books come out, and kind of the start is kind of what you kind of hear is the starting point of it being okay for adults to read comics, and people making comics for a more adult audience. But First here was a few years ahead of the curve on that. And so I was thinking, before I got into the specifics on American Flagg, I would show off a few of the comics that I've come across and enjoyed from First so far. Like I said, I'm starting to dig into it. So, some of these I haven't read a whole lot of, but here's one, Dynamo Joe, very good, very interesting, very much affected by manga and Japanese art, but I thought this was really well done. This is actually the only issue of Dynamo Joe that I have, but I am definitely gonna, pick up more and see what else is they did with that character in that issue, that series. Another one, and I think this is one of the more longer running comics that First put out. And this is Nexus. And the artwork alone is just amazing in this. Steve Rude was just a amazing comic book artist. He's still out there, but this is a book that he did most of the art for, and these panic covers that he did for most of these issues are just amazing. Shows a little bit of interior. The artwork in the interior is much different. It's not the painterly look, of that the covers have, but it's still very strong. So that's another one I've read. I don't know, I've probably read maybe 10 or 12 of the Nexus, but I will definitely be digging into that more. Another one I came across, 1980s ninjas were huge, and so here's their female ninja character, Whisper. I have a few of these, very 80s, very interesting. I like this book a lot. Never heard of it. Actually came across it from Kayfabe, cartoonist Kayfabe. Jim Rugg talks about Whisper as being one of his favorite ninja comics, and so I had to look into that, because I'm a big cartoonist Kayfabe fan. Here's another one, another series that was put out by First. This, I believe, is the Charleston character that they got the rights to, E-Man, and I've read like the first 4 or 5 issues of this. Is not my favorite of the First stuff, but I thought it was still pretty solid. Here's one that is like, I don't ever hear anybody talk about this, but I've really enjoyed this book. John Sable Freelance, and came across this just on a whim. Local comic book dealer in Kansas City, they put out a comic shop. They put out a mention on one of the local collectors' Facebook pages, group Facebook pages, saying, you know, it was after the convention season, and they were selling long boxes of stuff that, you know, had survived that didn't sell through the conventions, and you could buy a long box from them for $50. You couldn't mix and match. You couldn't pick out your favorites and fill a long box. They had, I went up to the shop and they had 7 long boxes of books, and you could look through them and kind of pick out your favorite long box and buy it, you know, for $50. And I like, you know, finding the diamonds in the rough, the hidden gems, you know, getting into the weeds and finding books that are really good that for whatever reason, you know, never made it in the pop culture, you know, stock. And so I bought one of the long boxes. I'd say I went home with 250 comics, you know, for $50. It might have even been 300. I think you might be able to get 300 in a long box. And out of those, one of the things that I came across is this run of John Sable Freelance, which is about 53 issues, or is 53 issues. There was 36 issues of John Sable Freelance in there, including the first 12. And so I gave those a try, and I enjoyed it a lot. This is Mike Grell, and I will most likely be doing a video on John Sable Freelance later on. So that was another, I thought was a really great deal and a really interesting book to get into. And First Comics, they lasted from 1983 to 1991. And one of the very last projects that they were working on, which they didn't ever actually finish, they were doing English translations. They were the first to do English translations and reprints of Lone Wolf and Cub. And so I believe this is from 1987. This is just the 7th issue. But they were doing it all the way into 1991 when they went out of business, which I just find shocking because Lone Wolf and Cub is an amazing book. And, you know, people still talk about Lone Wolf and Cub today. And First was the first ones to, you know, do English translations and get it out into the American market. They weren't able to finish the full run. I do believe it was taken over and, you know, the run was done from beginning to complete to the end by Dark Horse. But, you know, and I mean, it even has Frank Miller's name on the cover there. He's putting his seal of approval on this project. So it is just very shocking to hear, you know, like this company that's putting out very good books, you know, not lasting very long and going out of business. But enough about that. I might get into it in another video. But that gives you a little idea about First Comics. And from talking to people, you know, asking around, I've been told that this is actually the #1 comic. This is the best comic that First did, and, you know, very acclaimed, very good reviews from the critics, so to speak. This is the one to read if you're going to be reading any First Comics. And so when I came across this at my local comic book shop at 50% off, this is a trade put out by Image Comics, working with Dynamic Forces. They put this out in 2008. And yeah, so let's talk a little bit about American Flagg. This is a sci-fi, dystopian sci-fi comic. It ran 50 issues. There was a second issue that came out a little later after this one ended, which I think took place in Russia, and it was called American Flagg, but I think the R was flipped over backwards and the C might have been a K, and it was also done by Howard Chaykin. But yeah, so I'm a big fan of sci-fi. I do like sci-fi comics, and so I was very interested in this. Like I said, this is dystopian. It's made and came out in 1983, so it was very Cold War ish, beginning to it. I won't talk too much about the story, but I will, kind of give you the world that Chaikin's building. And this takes place in 2031. It's 35 years after the year of the domino, where the superpowers, Russia and the United States, both collapse, and they actually end up taking off to Mars, where they set up their kind of capital, their home base on the planet Mars, and are ruling the United States and other parts from afar. It's the United States government with a union of corporations. All the major corporation heads leave, and it's actually, kind of go to the page. One of the things that I really like about this book is the graphic design and everything that's used in here. So this page kind of sets it up, 1996, year of the domino, and it just talks about East Coast meltdown, massive crop failures, USSR collapses, food riots, all the things that are going on. And Plex USA, turns into Plexus, turns into Plex, the Plex. And, talking about them taking off to Mars. And so this comic takes place in Chicago in 2031, 35 years after the collapse in 1996. And they've set up the TRC. You see this back on track in 76. You'll see logos on the cover and throughout the thing, kind of talking about, if I can find it, making America great again. It's the 300 logo, which I can't seem to find oh, here we go. So you'll see like the TRC 300. Yeah, and that's the Tricentennial Reclamation Committee, and that's the building up, trying to make America great again by 2076. And you get an idea of like Chaikin's art style here. This is a great drawing. He's black and white or pen and ink, using this duo shade. It looks like stippling. I can find a page with a better you can see it more, but you can see it in her hair. It looks like stippling, but it's actually like a duo shade or duo tone. It's kind of like he's cutting out this textured paper that he puts in there to come up with these textures. And you'll see that throughout the book. It's a really great art style that I like a lot. And here's some more of that, really incorporating a lot of graphic designs with the iconography. The main character that you're following in this book is American Flagg, a out-of-work actor who's now joined the Plexus Rangers, which is the militarized police that he's taking over for a Plexus Ranger who was killed in the line of duty in Chicago. And so that's kind of where it starts off, with him starting his first days in Chicago in this dystopian future. And needless to say, there's a lot of corruption and a lot of things going on, and there's plenty for a Plexus Ranger to do. Like I said, I don't want to talk too much about the story, give anything away, but just kind of show off, just kind of the artwork and the look of the book. Like I said, the things that jump out in this are definitely just like the use of typography. Like I said, it's and Chaikin's known for this. It's an adult book, and he definitely likes to get his adult subject matter in there. So I don't know if you can see that real well, just kind of showing, there's people hopping in and out of beds with each other, you know, among all the violence and everything that's going on. But the artwork's great. The colors is done really well. I like the, you know, just flat color and, you know, not getting too complex with a lot of shading. Just using Lydian Shakin use his duotone, you know, to create the shadows and the darks. And keeping the color, you know, just kind of bold and flat. I think it works out really great. There's some pages where they get into like really limited color. I like these a lot. I think these make for really, you know, really wonderful pages that really pop. You know, this night fight where it's just black and purple and orange. You'll see like some blues. I think that's really great. But like I said, I don't want to say too much about, you know, like what happens in the book, but, you know, just to give you an idea of, you know, just the you have these gangs that come in and they, you know, tear up the place and people getting murdered and, you know, just all the police work and everything that's going on. So there's a lot of action and just a lot of things going on and a lot of politics, getting into just sort of this, I don't know what you say, just like kind of soulless consumerist, you know, society that the United States has turned into after the meltdown. And anyway, it's a great book, and if you haven't tried it, I would highly suggest, you know, looking into it. So, but yeah, there's some more, you know, just kind of working with the colors and the shading with that, you know, and the textures using the dual shade. It's a really great technique. You know, I think he's really good with the fight scenes. I think that's really nice. Some great splashes. The who's taken over the new superpowers are the Brazilian Union and the Pan-African League. So getting more into the different typography and just the graphic design that's used throughout this book. Like I said, it really makes it dynamic. You know, there's one of the covers. So, but if you're, you know, want to get interested in sci-fi and just getting something a little different, you know, it's just very American Flagg would definitely be something that would be good to look into. So, all right. So don't want to give away too much. So anyway, that's my overview of the definitive collection, volume 1 of American Flagg. This is the first 6 issues of the 1983 series American Flagg. And thank you for joining and watching my channel. Until next time, keep on reading.